Hello and welcome. I'm Brett Connor.
And I'm Royce Connor, and this is The Best We Can
Do.
Do. Here's the best we can do on today's episode. We're talking about a topic that means something grand and large and special. We're talking about the topic of service, and we're going to talk about it very broadly. What does service mean to us? What does it look like in various contexts? What does it mean to be of service, and what does it mean to serve? I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Thanks, Royce. I'm looking forward to that as well. And for me, this is a topic that sprung from an actual experience I had. And
Really?
sometimes, the world just gives you these, and I wanted to talk about it. And that should launch us on our exploration of service.
Sometimes the world gives you herpes, sometimes it gives you service.
With a smile.
Hmm.
So, I ordered a Lyft in our beautiful city of Richmond, California.
This is going to be one of these stories with an unbelievable amount of extraneous information that is not at all important to the story itself. But
Here's the
please
problem.
keep going.
Royce, I get into my stories and then you go on about how you don't like how I tell my stories, and it just makes the process take longer. Just sit there and listen to my story, for goodness sake.
This is a good time to take a break, everyone, even though we're 1 minute into this.
Oh, God. Are you ready? Or can you accept my story now?
I'll pretend to try.
Oh, my gosh. So I order a Lyft in Richmond, and the driver shows up 5 minutes early. It's one of those that I scheduled in advance because I needed it pretty early in the morning. 5 minutes early, it shows up. Great, I like that. I got a text saying, I'm here 5 minutes early. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to leave. But I was ready, and we got into the car, and off we go.
You see what I'm talking about, people?
But I think getting there 5 minutes early is part of the story.
I love that it's taking place in Richmond, our hometown.
Our hometown. So we are on our way. And of course, as you do, you strike up a conversation with the driver. His name's Joe. Pretty big guy and a pretty serious looking guy. Turns out Joe's a Marine, a former Marine. And we get talking about his life and his experience. He comes from a family of armed service. His father fought in Vietnam. His grandfather fought in World War II. This is generations of people who have given so much to this country. And we talked for a while about that and what it meant to him. And you'd think, after all that maybe you'd be a little disillusioned about the country, about humanity in general. And what Joe had to say was beautiful. He talked about how it's our job to love each other and how it's our job to make sure that we're taking care of each other, that we are there for each other. It meant so much to him that that's how he lives his life and how he thinks people should lead their lives. And it was just the last conversation you'd expect to have with a Marine. It was beautiful. He was just this lovely, lovely human being who I'm sure has seen a lot of very, very difficult things and done difficult things. I'm sure he carries some part of that around with him every single day of his life, but he didn't want to talk about that. That was not what was important to him. What was important to him is we are here to take care of each other, and it had me thinking about service.
That is a beautiful story, and I do think the world would be better with the most possible Joes in it.
We need a world of Joes. And it made me think, well, he got there 5 minutes early. That's a Marine. They are ready to go, always. And you could see he's living his life by this standard. And his standard is take care of each other. And it just got me going. And so we actually talked at the end when he dropped me off. Hey, I've got this podcast. And I was so inspired. I'd love to do an episode.
You're plugging the podcast to the U.S. Marine Corps.
I wasn't plugging it, but I was just letting him know, you have got my mind and my heart going. And now, is a few months later, we're finally putting it down. Thank you, Royce. I'm so glad to be doing this episode.
Joe, if you're listening, you're probably outside someone's house 5 minutes early, and thank you for listening to us during this time.
Agreed. So, Royce, when you think of the concept of service, what does that mean to you?
When it's tossed around generally, especially in these days with everything going on in the Middle East, people often think that service reflects directly upon military service.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, and wonderfully so. So the first thought that comes to mind is military in general. But as I dig deeper, I think there are so many people whose professions are driven by personal drive to be of service to others. I myself was a teacher for a long time, and I think of teaching as a deeply meaningful way to be of service to a community and to the next generation. I think of jobs like nursing and how nurses
Yes.
are deeply in service to their patients and the people who love their patients. And there's a category of jobs that we think of as service jobs, which is also very different. Often they're not seen as professional jobs, although I think that's a mistake. But you think of a service job and you think of a table server or bartender or someone picking up your trash on trash day, people in service jobs. So it's a word that we use to cover everything from protecting our freedoms to picking up dog crap and everything in between. That means the word service can mean something individually meaningful to us. And I think that's one of the beautiful parts about service. It's what we want and need it to be ourselves.
Royce, I agree. I would say that in order for it to be a service effort, it has to be directed towards someone else. It has to be done in service of someone or something. And it can have 100 voices and 1,000 actions, but it has to be externally directed. It's hard to imagine service to yourself. That seems selfish and the opposite of my notion of service. But I think if you're doing any job where other people are being taken care of, whether you're waiting tables, whether you're at the checkout desk at the library, a police officer, a fireman, so many jobs can be of service. And it doesn't even have to be professional. You can be in service in your day-to-day life. Mm-hmm. Parents, that's a service. It's an amazing commitment to that next generation. Extremely personal, extremely challenging and difficult, but it is a service. It's not something we think about as service, but I think that is.
When you adopted your kids, I remember talking to you about, of all these interesting dynamics of your family, you are, in a way, in service to the state of California. These boys are so wonderful, but they came to a point in their lives where they needed something different than the family they were born into, and the state had to get directly involved. That could be a whole story in and of itself. But Indeed. The state needed someone to be in service both to the state and to these boys, and you and your husband came along, and you are, sure, certainly in service to your children, but also in service to the state of California.
It's true. I never thought about it as a service to the state, although it certainly is that. I think if you are going into certainly the foster system and you're looking to have a family and adopt through the foster system, you have to put the service notion first. You have to put the kids first. I don't know if you have to put the state first, but you got to put the kids first. If you're coming into it from, a more self-directed, like, I want to be a dad, it's not good enough. It has to be service at heart.
You were talking before about the definition of service having to involve others, that you can't be in service to yourself. It has to be in service to others. And as you were talking, I thought to myself, generally true, but not universally true. I thought of the profession, if you think of it this way, of politicians. There are so many politicians out there who very clearly and deeply genuinely do that work to be in service to their constituents, their school boards, their city councils, federal office. And yet, I do not have to think too hard to think of someone who is technically in service as a politician, but absolutely not in it for anyone else but themselves. I don't want to mention anyone specifically.
But I do think you're correct. Just because you are a politician, an elected leader, it doesn't necessarily mean you're in service. It matters what you're doing in that job. And if what you're doing in that job is for the benefit of others, if it is to make life better for the people you're representing, the people you're serving, then you've hit it. If you are there as a power grab, as an ego boost, as a stepping stone to a career in broadcasting, yeah, you might be a politician, but you are not in service.
Very nicely said. Look, we agree on things. This never happens.
What a boring podcast. Two people agree with each other all day long. Let's talk about other things.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we collectively, we as a society, although that sounds so lame, how we treat people who are in service. And I always think of, because I thought of military service primarily, there's this phrase that is ubiquitous when it comes to how do you respond to someone when you find out that they have served in the military or currently serve in the military. And it's the same phrase everywhere. Thank you for your service.
Yep, I've heard it, Royce. I've heard it.
I've said it many times. And I think what you'll be happy to hear is every time I said it, I meant it.
Right.
And I meant it in a couple of different ways. One of them, the big one, is being deeply, genuinely grateful that these folks were willing to make the ultimate sacrifice with the support of their families and others who love them. And also, I'll admit, like my own personal cowardice. I don't have the courage to do what these men and women do daily. So I feel deep personal gratitude, but also recognize they're doing a job I'm too afraid to do myself. So when I say thank you for your service, I mean it from the heart. I have nothing but gratitude and awe for what these men and women do every single day.
I love that, Royce. The reason I hear thank you for your service and my hair goes up a bit is I think too many people use it as an automatic response to hearing that someone's been in the military, and they don't think about it and they don't care about it. They don't spend any time reflecting on what it means and what that person has been through, regardless of how they served. And that infuriates me, frankly. If you haven't done the work yourself to think about the service that you are thanking them for providing and what that has provided to you personally and to you as your community, your state, your nation, keep your mouth closed. You can say thank you for your service when you know what you're saying.
Would you recommend that someone who doesn't really mean it say something else?
I would rather they stay silent than say something that is false and unfelt.
Fair enough. It's hard to imagine telling someone in the Navy to piss off because you can't think of what something you mean besides thank you for your service. I would hope that someone would keep silent rather than say piss off or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a history in this country of protesting people in the military when they're not the ones making the decisions. They're not the ones getting us into that war that nobody likes. They're not the ones who are able to end the war that people just want to stop. They're the people fighting it. That is something I respect deeply. I agree with you, Royce. There is no way I could have done it myself, not in that way. Our father was in the service. He was in the Army, got drafted during the Vietnam War. Imagine how terrifying. Just the service required to show up on day one of basic training. It's an incredible weight to think about that he had to carry all the days and weeks leading up to that. That's when I say thank you for your service. I think about all of it. And I do not like people who use it as a badge. Like, I said thank you for your service. Aren't I a great person?
Ugh,
no,
barf.
you're not. You're not. Just because you said it doesn't mean anything. Not to me. But I think there's lots of ways, Royce, of thanking people for service that has nothing to do with the military.
Yes, as we think more broadly about what the term includes. I'll tell you one of my pet peeves.
Thank you.
We are about to make this giant leap from the armed services to grocery carts. Besties out there, if you want to know something about me, you want to know one of my greatest pet peeves, here it is. People who do not return their grocery carts to the place in the parking lot where they're supposed to go.
Yes.
People who leave their carts next to their car in the parking space who can't be bothered because they feel the person in the service industry who works for that store, it's their job to take care of all of that. And I find that so incredibly obnoxious. You want to be an enemy of mine forever? Leave your cart at your car, and I will think you are the most shallow, thoughtless, entitled prick to walk the planet, and that is saying something.
I agree with you 100%. It takes very little extra effort to just put the cart back so someone else can use it, or at least someone who works for the store doesn't have to go and pick it out of your parking space later in the pouring rain and the dark and the cold and all that. Like, if you cannot put through the tiniest bit of effort to respect the people who are doing that job and find it's their job and they're getting paid for it, blah, 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 I don't care. We can help each other out here. This is Joe's message. Take care of each other. I'll tell you another thing about grocery stores. You know what I can't stand?
Ooh, tell me.
When you're standing in line, and usually there's a long line, and often there's one person who is tasked with both checking out the groceries and bagging them. It's an impossible task, right? It's just so much going on, and everyone's angry, and the lines are too long. Why the person who's buying the groceries cannot just step around and help put their own groceries in a bag?
Oh, these people.
I don't understand it. And it's often that's their job. It's not my job. They get paid to do that. I don't get it. I'm here to shop. I'm not to do that. And yet they complain about how long the lines are and da-da-da-da. Get over yourself, people. There's one person and they're trying to do everything and try to keep everybody happy. And you know they're not making great dollars in this job. They're doing the best they can. Help them out. Bag your own stupid groceries, people.
The mindset and the worldview that customer demonstrates tells you all you need to know about who that person is.
I totally agree.
They are selfish, they are entitled, and they are conceited, and they have no place in my world. I want nothing to do with them.
I agree. People who are rude to waiters.
Oh.
That is something I will never understand. Everybody, I believe this firmly, should have a service job at some point in their lives. Maybe it's your career, maybe it's not, that's fine. But at some point, you have got to work in service. And often these are very difficult jobs that are very low wage. Everyone should live that life, at least for a little bit. Maybe while you're in school, maybe afterwards. But at some point, live life as someone in service. And then I guarantee you'll never be rude to a waiter again.
One of my first jobs was a job in service, and it was back in our hometown of Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Hi, Bloomsburg. I know you're listening. There was a gas station that existed at the time, not anymore, and it had two things going on. One, it was a gas station. You pulled up, you pumped the gas, or sometimes the attendant would pump the gas for you. But it was also, oddly, a deli. They made sandwiches. And what was interesting was I was the only employee there. So it was not at all uncommon that someone would pull up at 11:30 p.m., ask me to pump their gas. I would go out, pump their gas, and then come inside, and they would immediately order a sandwich from me with the same premium unleaded hands that were just touching all their stuff.
Oh, no.
And I'm getting all of that Exxon all over their lettuce and tomatoes, and they would be so happy to have a sandwich. No one ever seemed to get nauseated by this. Each and every time I wanted to puke. I wanted to say, lady, you just saw me pump your gas, and I'm happy to do it. And you just saw me make your sandwich, and I'm happy to do that. I'm not sure I'm happy to do both without washing my hands, which I can't do. There's no sink here. I can't just go to the bathroom and leave you alone in the store. That job was so difficult because I was constantly sick of myself.
You might remember, Royce, I worked at that same gas station / convenience store.
That's right.
A couple of years later, under different circumstances, and I had the night shift, and I was there all alone. And I remember this woman came in one day, and the gas station was across the street from a trailer park, and one of the residents there came in, I would say a woman, maybe in her late 20s, early 30s, and she has a baby or toddler under each arm, 2 kids in arm. And she walks in and she comes up to me again, just like you. I'm the only person there. This place is entirely empty. It is late. And she asked to buy cigarettes with her food stamps.
Yikes. Oh.
Yes. And I said, no. Food stamps are for food for you and your children. I'm not going to sell you cigarettes with your food stamps. And her response to me, which I will never forget, was, well, the morning guy lets me do it.
The morning guy lets me do it.
The morning guy lets me do it. I said, come back in the morning. She wasn't happy about it. Oh, she stormed out of there with both kids back across the street to the trailer park. But I feel I was there to provide a certain kind of service to her, which was to say no.
Strange that the mayor was shopping at 11:30 at night at the store.
Well, it's when she got off. It's a thankless job.
Thankless job. Your job right now is a service job, a very different kind of service job. You have found your way beautifully into the world of public service. Brett is a fantastic public servant.
I don't know about that, but it's true in that sense. I work for the city and county of San Francisco. It's a government job, a city government job. I've done it for, oh boy, going on a couple decades now, and I've loved every minute of it. I truly believe that the government, writ large, government is here to help.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what Reagan made jokes about in the 80s, I believe the government is the most effective and powerful mechanism we as human beings have invented for the social good and change. I love being a part of that. It doesn't always work perfectly, and I've got a lot of criticisms about it, which I don't mind voicing at all, much to the detriment of my career. I'm not one of those stay silent kind of guys.
You are not.
Never really have been. But this basic notion of service, and I think about it all the time at my desk at work. I keep a little model of the Golden Gate Bridge. Someone gave it to me as a gift once. I've had it for a decade at least. I like keeping it right in front of me because for me it's a symbol. It is a symbol of the people who pay my salary. Whether they care about what my department does or what my day-to-day job is, doesn't matter. The respect I give those people, the people of San Francisco, is huge. And I keep that reminder right there smack dab in front of me to remind me I am working for them. I am in service to them. And when you have that mindset, which you would hope everyone in a government job has that mindset, I know they don't all. Most of them do, I think, but not all. I certainly do. If you don't have that right in your heart, in the core of what you're doing day in and day out, you're in the wrong line of work.
I think you are deeply screwing with people's preconceived notions and stereotypes of what government employees are like and what they do.
Well, folks, let me tell you, I know you have an image in your mind of what a government employee is like. And let me tell you, in my experience, they are hardworking, smart people who really, really care. Don't give too much attention to the articles you read about this horrible person who did this or stole this and da-da-da-da. It happens, and I won't deny that it happens. But that is not the story of most people who every single day get up and they're working for you. And I'm talking about everybody from the mayor on down to the person behind the window when you're paying your bill. Those people are working so hard. Maybe it's not a job you say thank you for your service for, but it is absolutely a job worthy of respect.
You're making me think about public service now and thinking about America in general. There are very few musts that America has, things you must do. We haven't said as a country, you must vote. We haven't said you as a country must serve in the military. Oddly, one of the very, very few places we say a person must serve, jury duty.
Right.
Somewhere along the line, we decided that is the one place where we're going to tell everyone they have to do it. Jury duty. I'll never understand why. It does seem, of all the things the state would force you to do, I'm not sure juries would be number one on my list. And yet there it is, one of the only requirements to being a citizen in the United States. You have to serve on juries. Have you ever served on a jury, Brett?
I have served on a jury.
Oh boy.
I've been called many, many times, and often you call the day before if they say we don't need you, or you show up that day and then they say they don't need you. But once I actually was impaneled, I sat on a full trial. It was a fairly brief one, but it was a full trial with testimony and evidence and judges and lawyers and all that. We went to the room to deliberate, and we came up with a verdict.
It's not exactly 12 Angry Men, is it?
It was not 12 Angry Men, but it was myself and 11 others who took it so seriously. And I remember thinking, if I, God forbid, ever found myself behind that desk and 12 people were deciding my fate, I would want them to take it as seriously as these 12 people are taking this right now.
I had a colleague once explain to me that the problem with the American legal system is that it is all based on 12 people who can't get out of jury duty.
Right.
There's something to that. I got to serve on a jury once. It was also not exactly 12 angry men. It was 11 bored people and a moron. And that person just could not get her head around the idea of reasonable, what a reasonable doubt would be. She thought that any possible sliver of what could have happened counted as reasonable. And she was driving us all crazy. I ended up having to explain to her, me, a layperson, not a lawyer, not even all that smart, as anyone who listens to this podcast will tell you. I had to explain what reasonable meant through examples. And afterward, when the trial was done, one of the other jurors came up to me and said that I was the voice of reason on the jury.
Royce, that's bad for the American justice system when you're the voice of reason.
Public service came down to me and my sense of reason, and boy, that is a woeful day for justice. But I took it as a big compliment. Thank you very much. I'm the voice of reason.
Good for you, and good for doing that. I like the fact that when our American forefathers sat down to think of how we are going to work as a nation and what are the requirements and duties of a citizen, they decided jury duty was one of them.
I thought you were going to say owning slaves, but not those forefathers. I see. Jury duty, I do think, is a better option.
Move on. If we're going to be a nation of laws, as opposed to a nation of the biggest and strongest gets what they want, then you've got to have a full system to support that. And part of that system is the people. The people, at the end of the day, have all this power. It's very democratic when you think about it. It's not the judge, it's not the lawyers, all these people have these high-powered jobs and make a lot of money, da-da-da. At the end of the day, have zero power in this process. It is 12 volunteers who are pulled from the community to decide guilt or innocence.
I'm thinking about the 12 people I served with, and to call them peers is very generous. But I'll take that over any other system I've ever heard.
I'm all for it. In fact, I don't know if you knew this. I just got called for jury duty.
Of course you did.
I did. The notice is sitting at home now. So.
Good news, criminals of Contra Costa County. You're about to get off.
That's
Brett's
right.
on the jury.
I'm on the job. I always think of that George Carlin joke about jury duty when he says, if you want to get out of jury duty, just look at the judge and say, I should be on this jury because I can spot guilty people like that.
Love George Carlin.
Love that guy. Royce, I really loved this conversation about service. Again, thank you for letting me bring it to the table and develop it for something we can talk about. I think a lot about what service means, what it means today in a very self-centered, immediate gratification world. Is service alive? Is it respected? Is it in the fabric of all of us? I wonder about that. I wonder if the notion of service is getting more and more eroded over time. But I think what isn't getting eroded is our drive as people to take care of each other. Whether people think of it as service or not, I do believe that there is an innate part of humanity wants to help each other. And I love that about people. Maybe not all of them, and maybe not all of them have the right tools and skills to effectively help, but I think the will to do so is so strong and so important.
No matter what service means for you in your life, you are doing it in some way. So, listeners, if you are serving in the Middle East, if you are working with students tomorrow morning, if you are going to see some patients in the ICU in your next shift, everything in between, truly, from the bottom of both of our hearts, thank you for your service.
Indeed. Thank you very much. That will wrap things up for this episode. Thanks to our theme composer, Seth Weinstein.
And thank you, besties, for spending time with us today.
We know you're doing your best out there.
We can't wait to see you again soon. Like and subscribe so we can stay in touch.
You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, and Blue Sky.
Find those links, other information, and email us at www.thebestwecando.com.
For now, I'm Brett Connor.
And I'm Royce Connor.
Next time we'll try to do better, but for now, this is
the best we can do. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye.